Aw, yeah, suck it now.
Hello, everybody.
4, 3, 2, kick it!
Hey guys, James here once again, this time bringing you the 17th of many episodes of Miami Last Cast, your video games podcast out of Miami, Florida. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. This week we got a packed show. Of course, I'm going to go over what I've been playing. Spoilers, a lot of Mario Odyssey. I'm going to share with you guys the new releases, as well as some announced games and some updates to some announced games. We're going to go into a little bit of a leak of some Black Friday sales, some stuff you guys might be interested in there, some PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds news. Microsoft it was also in the news. I'll share that. I'm going to go into a little bit of talk on single player now that Visceral Studios is closed. As well as a little Sunset Overdrive news. NeoGAF was in the news. You guys have been hearing all about that. And then Sony also is teasing us. So let's get right into it, guys. So first things first, I'm going to share with you guys what I've been playing. And it's been mostly the Switch. I have played a bit here and there on the PlayStation 4. And the PC, but nothing to write home about it yet. So I've been spending most of my time in Stardew Valley. I've been putting tons of hours into this game. It feels right at home on the Switch, I've mentioned before, so I'm not going to bore you with that. I've also been playing a lot more of Fire Emblem Warriors. I'm trying to finish that game. I love the Musou games. I love the Fire Emblem series. I love the skin that they put over the Musou game. They added these RPG elements. They did a really good job with it. It's not the greatest of games, but it's definitely a good game to play on the go. And if you're at all a fan of the Fire Emblem series, I think you're gonna dig this one a little bit. And then where I've been spending most of my time has been Super Mario Odyssey. So I've put, at this point, it has to be at least 5-6 hours into this game. Freaking terrific game. I posted on my Instagram some of the reviews that come back. This game is pacing to be probably, if not already, the higher rating than that of Breath of the Wild, or if not, it's going to come really close. Two big monsters this year from Nintendo. So Super Mario Odyssey, again, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but basically you're hunting down these moons throughout the game. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these things. I think I'm maybe about 150, 160 moons in. I feel like I'm getting close to the end of the game, but it seems like there's also a little bit more to go. I feel like I'm about 70% of the way through in the game. Great game. Super Mario Brothers has been a staple for such a long time, and Nintendo keeps finding a way to make it fresh, to make it new, to make it so that they're again changing it up. As far as kind of making it fresh, so basically, your Mario, it does have a co-op mode. So I did play a little bit of co-op with my wife. I gotta tell you, it's not very impressive, the co-op mode. If you guys don't know already, Cappy, which is the hat that Mario wears, has kind of a mind of its own. And the co-op, the second player controls the hat, and the first player controls Mario. I don't know if I like it. I guess it's nice to see in the game. If an adult wants to play with a little kid, maybe, and get them involved with the game. That's a fun way to do it. But it's definitely not the co-op in the sense that you're thinking. At least I haven't found it to be in about 30 or 40 minutes that I played in the co-op mode. The worlds are phenomenal. The traversal is great. Is the most versatile Mario, I think, to date. It does remind me a lot of Galaxy. Also Super Mario 64. You feel a lot of the Mario 64 in there for sure. They have your sandy world, the watery world, the ice world. You have the forest. You get to take control of some interesting creatures. Again, I will not spoil, but I will say that this game is it's phenomenal on the console. If you play it as the console on your big screen, or if you play it on the go, it works very seamlessly, and the fact that it allows you to do that, it makes it hard to put down. But the game is very, very cool. There are some collectibles in the game other than the moons. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything there, but it's going to keep you busy for a while. It's going to keep me busy for a while, and I definitely recommend the pickup. As soon as I finish the game, I'll probably have a section, maybe like a little bit of a spoiler cast. It's not typically something I do with the games. Maybe I'll do a separate thing altogether, but I feel like I have to share it with you guys to share my thoughts on it. Again, Super Mario Odyssey, great game. So we got some pretty big games coming out this week. First things first, I'm gonna start with the big boy coming out on November 3rd. You have Call of Duty for all the major systems. So you got PC, PS4, and Xbox. Call of Duty World War II, by the way, I put a little bit of a podcast or video together with Tim over at MCC Comics, my local comic book store. We decided we're going to do a one-off kind of talking about one specific game per episode, and then if it does well, we'll continue to do that. And this week we decided to talk about World War II. So as I edit that video and that the audio, that will probably go up in a few days or a few days after this podcast goes up. So keep your eye out for that. So World War II launches on November 3rd. And then you also have coming out November 3rd, you have Dot Hack Last Recode RPG. That's coming out for PS4. 8-Bit Adventure Anthology Volume 1. That's for PS4 as well. Ben 10 makes this way. Again, new game. PUBG is coming out as well. I guess this is PS4's way of battling another kind of little rabbit / fox game that's coming out later or next week. And you also have, for the PS Vita, you have Pax Nora. So command armies of fantastic creatures, cast spells of devastating power, and summon relics of ancient renown to defeat opponents in Pax Nora. You also have for PS4 and PS Vita, Ribi. So Irina's humdrum life as a regular rabbit is turned upside down when she finds herself in an unknown world and turned into a human. Along the way, she meets the cheerful pink-haired fairy, Ribbon, who mysteriously chooses to stay by Irina's side. You also have, after that, on the PS Vita still getting some love, huh? Sokoban Next. That one, the description is play the world's favorite puzzle game on a brand new level. If you like the original, you'll love Sokoda Next. Can't say that I played the original, but okay. And then also for the PS4, you have Spintire's Mud Runner. So that one's described as the ultimate version of million-seller hit Spin Tires. For the first time on consoles, the game puts you in the driver's seat of an incredible all-terrain vehicle, venturing across extreme landscapes with only a map and a compass as guides. Yes, there's more. We have Steven Universe Save the Light. That's coming for PS4. It might be coming to Xbox as well. Join the crystal gems of the ultimate quest. A mysterious new gem has stolen a powerful weapon on only Steven and his friend have what it takes to stop her. So we have that, and then we also have a little game called, this one for PS4 and PS Vita. This is Summon Night 6 Lost Borders. That one's coming out on October 31st on Halloween. And then I have a couple other ones here. So, nope, that's it. That's all of them. So there's a good package there. Obviously, the headliner there is World War II. But I'm interested in seeing how Dot Hack is. That's getting a retail release. What else is on here? Bubsy looks pretty interesting. I can't say that I'm going to get Ben 10, but yeah, there's some good games coming out this week. I don't know if I have time for it with all the Mario I've been playing, but there's definitely some great games coming out. And then the following week, there's some good ones coming out. So I'll share that with you guys on next week's show. But it's definitely stacked for the month, the end of for October and November as the holidays get nearer and nearer. So if you guys didn't hear already, there was an announcement for a game coming to Switch. Shin Megami Tensei 5. It was done with a trailer that was released. And if you guys don't know this is basically a turn-based RPG with a very much a horror vibe. 10 Megami Tensei 4 was a 3DS exclusive, so we'll see if this turns out to be a Switch exclusive, but just the fact that it's coming to the Switch is pretty neat, especially for fans of Persona. If you guys don't know, Persona is a spin-off of this game. So very, very, very excited for that. And then, of course, the game, one of the games that I'm most hyped about, Dragon Ball FighterZ, finally gets a release date. It's due out on January 26th. That's for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Obviously, as that date becomes closer, I will probably go apeshit, but we'll cover that for sure. They basically outlined the Android perspective. They shared a little bit more story along with this announcement. They also basically revealed, or let's see, for the season pass. So they revealed the season pass, which is going to bring 8 new characters to the roster. And then if you reserve this, then you'll get early access to the beta that's coming out early next year, right before the launch of the game. So Dragon Ball Z Fighters finally gets a date. I'm super stoked for that. Another game that's getting a date, Metal Gear Survive. So this is the first post Metal Gear since Kojima left Konami. It's been a lot of mixed messages with or mixed feelings with this game. A lot of people are like really down on it, but some people are like, you know what, it's not as bad as they originally thought. I don't know if that's a good thing to say about it, but that game is coming out on February 20th for the US, February 22nd in Europe. They also revealed some of the pre-order bonuses. Again, as always, guys, I'll link these in the description for you so you guys can see it for yourself. But basically, some survival pack and stuff, and then they show some pictures showing exactly what that is. And then some more release news. Injustice 2 is getting a new player. So if you guys reserved the ultimate or bought the ultimate version, you guys were able to get the additional characters. This is the last character in that second pack, and it's Hellboy, guys. So Hellboy is making its way to Injustice 2. Again, they released a gameplay trailer. He's fighting in it, obviously. And I'm sure this is nothing, or it's not a coincidence that this announcement was announced during the tournament of Injustice 2 that's going on TBS, I believe, is who's airing that tournament. So that's set to kick off on November 21st. For those who bought the Ultimate Edition, you guys get it on November 14th. Stoked for that. And then on more Injustice 2 news, so they confirmed that coming this fall, Injustice 2 is going to make its way to PC. So it's not just going to be a console exclusive. It's actually going to get a PC release. I'm sure the PC hardcore master race people are super stoked for that. So another great fighter coming to the PC. That, again, is due out this fall, according to NetherRealms themselves. So yet another game announcement. So we're going to get a Western release. This one I'm extremely excited for. I was a big fan of the first one. So this is the sequel to Digimon's Story Cyber Sleuth. This one's called Hacker's Memory. There's also a trailer associated with this game. That game is due out on January 19th for the PS4 and PS Vita in North America and Europe. And again, they released the details for the pre-order bonuses, exclusive costumes, and such. So I also, again, as I mentioned on the top of the show, I wanted to share with you guys one leak. So a Black Friday sale for Kohl's was released, and there is some gaming stuff in there. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff that leaked because it's not game related, but just something that will interest you guys. So Xbox One S 500 gigabyte model is going to go for $189.99 plus $45 in Kohl's Cash. Regular price for that is $279, so that's a pretty deep discount. Xbox One S, the 1 terabyte edition with Halo 2 or Halo Wars 2 bundle, that one's going for $329 with $90 in Kohl's Cash. Regular price is $349. And then you got the PlayStation 4 1 terabyte console. That one's going for $199, regularly $299 plus $60 in Kohl's Cash. So Peripherals are also getting some deals. Kohl's Black Friday deals. Let's see. So we got the Xbox One wireless controller. That one's going for $39.99. Regularly $59.99. DualShock wireless PS4 controllers, also $39.99. And then you got the Sony Gold wireless headset for PS4 and PS3. That one's $69.99. Regularly $100. Again, there's some other cool things in that leak. For the ad that leaked. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll be sure to link it in the description and in the comments or in the show notes for you guys. And then, of course, Players Unknown Battlegrounds is always in the news. So the release for the Xbox One version is nearing. And with that, they are releasing a new version 1.0. I guess this is the closer to, the actual launch edition of this thing. So it's going to add vaulting, and it's going to add climbing. Now, they did say that this is very much kind of, it's going to be buggy, at least for the first 3 days. There's going to be a lot of testing. Servers are going to be off and on. So for those who are into that game, I'm sure you guys will be excited to know about that. So they did share this. So they said, we plan to solve many of the bugs from the current live servers, and we are also constantly working on optimization. So again, as mentioned, this is going to be a work in progress, but as the release date for the Xbox One edition of this thing nears, I'm sure that's putting a lot of pressure on them to finish this build rather. And then in Microsoft news, they officially put the Kinect to bed. So they're no longer going to be manufacturing it. Yes, they're going to be getting the stocks in the stores, but that's it. They're not manufacturing. I'm sure none of us are surprised by this. I know I am not. This thing was... It sold well. I mean, it sold about 35 million units altogether when it was all said and done, with dating back to the Xbox 360 days on version or Kinect 1.0. So it was no slouch, but it's just something that people didn't really want going forward with the new system. They didn't feel like, or at least I didn't feel like it needed to be in there, and that price difference. In the beginning of the console generation, at $399 for the PS4, $499 for the Xbox One, definitely had its hand or had to do with the success of PS4, Xbox One. I mean, bottom line, guys, price is king. You can talk all you want about the PlayStation 4 being outspecking the Xbox One and all that garbage, but at the end of the day, it has to do with the price. So the fact that PlayStation 4 was $399 and the Xbox One was $499 had a whole bunch to do with the success that it's had. And then now the Kinect, the thing that caused the price initially, is officially put to bed. So I don't think anybody's going to miss it. I also wanted to talk to you guys. So Wolfenstein 2 came out on Friday, so the same day as Mario. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, unfortunately, because I've been playing Mario. Same goes for Assassin's Creed. I plan on playing both of those games, and I'll share my thoughts on both of them as I get to them. It's 3 huge single-player experiences in one day. It's tough to do. A lot of these things require your time. So I did want to share this story. So Wolfenstein 2 doesn't have any multiplayer, and they felt like it didn't need any multiplayer, primarily because they said it would dilute the narrative. So I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. I think that if you shoehorn a multiplayer into it, it would definitely and in their words, it would dilute the experience. I think it's great that they're doing this. So they did have a statement to say, so having a multiplayer component in this work process would just dilute it all. And they went on to say, the only way we can create these super narrative experiences that we can focus solely on the single player. So I'm happy to hear that, especially from the heads of the studio. I'm definitely going to be picking it up. And the reason I mentioned this story is because of what's happening over at Visceral with EA, which is a lot of people are saying that it has to do with, single player, the end of single player, and to a degree, I agree with that. I think that these bigger companies are following trends, and the trend right now are your Overwatches, are your Destinies, are your Player Unknown Battlegrounds. These games are doing gangbusters, and EA loves money. Businesses love money, so they want to go where the money is. So this is a great story. The fact that Wolfenstein 2 is dedicated to the single player, and it's not just Wolfenstein 2. I mean, they're doing with Evil Within 2, Dishonored, Doom. They're not all my cup of tea, but I definitely appreciate it that they're doing it, and they're focusing so much on these single player experiences. And I hope that this stands. They've had a lot of success with these games, and people love it. And I hope that people reward them in buying these games by keeping these experiences, these single player experiences, massive, AAA scale, and not just relying on indies. Even though indies can be great, there's nothing like a good, huge single player, AAA experience. So, Visceral, as you guys know, I mean, it's been in the news. If you don't know, Visceral Studios was shut down by EA. This is the studio that's primarily in charge of, or was primarily in charge of, the single player Star Wars game that Amy Hennig was in the lead of. It's changed a couple times. It's had different identities over the years, but ultimately it was a business decision. They felt like this game was, and I'm paraphrasing, but they basically felt like it was going to be over $100 million investment at the end of the day, and they didn't think they can recoup that money. But there is a statement here that kind of, and I don't know if they're just reacting to what people are saying, but I guess they're kind of saying the right thing here a little bit. So this is a statement from EA EVP Patrick Sutherland. He says, "This truly isn't about the death of single-player games. I love single-player games, by the way, or story and character-driven games," says Sutherland. "Storytelling has always been part of who we are, and single-player games will, of course, continue. At the end of the day, this was a creative decision. Our job is to give people a deep enough experience and story, and it's also to push the boundaries forward. We just didn't think we were getting it quite right." So I guess you have to respect that. Ultimately, it's a business. I'm not happy to see it. I as you guys know, I'm all about not these kind of play games as services. I'm more as a game as a product, as a finished product. It has a beginning and an end. Those are the ones I usually throw my money at. There are certain exceptions. Such as Stardew Valley, which I'm very deep in. It's a single player, but it's very open ended, and it feels like it goes on forever. So again, there's definitely exceptions to that, but you won't catch me playing a Destiny or an Overwatch or a PUBG. Most likely because I just don't want. I have a very addictive personality. I don't want to be caught up in this kind of almost like free. It feels like a free to play game that they charge you $60 for, that just wants to grab you and keep taking your money and money and money. And I just don't. I don't want to play a game that makes me feel that way. So that's why I feel like when I buy a game, I want that beginning and end. But I digress. Back to the story here. So basically, they're shifting to that, but it's good to know that they still have. I mean, I don't know. Mass Effect is not getting any treatment anytime soon with the failure that they've had. BioWare, which typically is the master of these single player experiences. I don't know what they're up to, but I did want to share this with you guys because with all that's out there, it's nice to know that their concentration is still going to be a single player. I don't know if they were just saying this to cover their asses, but it's definitely good to hear from the horse's mouth. And then the CEO for Insomniac Games, which was the developer for Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox, one, Ted Price, he was on his Twitch stream and he was asked if they can ever do a sequel to Sunset Overdrive, and his response was basically that yes, they would love to do it, and I'll give it to you out of the horse's mouth. So Sunset is something that I know a lot of our fans talk about, wanting to see the sequel. We need a partner for that. That's a big game. Sunset 2 would be a very large scope game. So I like the first one. I played it. I thought it was a great game. It was definitely more in the vein of kind of like a cult classic than a big hit. And obviously it wouldn't have an issue getting funded if it was selling like gangbusters. So I think the issue was that the game didn't sell. I don't know if it was the aesthetic of it. I don't know if it was the theme, being that it was zombies. A lot of people were burned on zombies. But, you know, these people are doing Spider-Man now, so I'm sure they're implementing a lot of that movement. And that was the key to that game. The movement in that world was spectacular. You felt in total control. You felt like a freaking badass. It was cool. It was extremely intuitive, and I feel like we could all benefit from a sequel. But you know, there's got to be money. Money's got to be made on these things. So I guess we'll see. But it's nice to know that it's a thought that they're having. I would definitely like to see the sequel. I hope that with this news out there that they find a partner. I did want to shift to a more serious note, guys. So, again, this is not a breaking news, but most of us know what's going on with NeoGAF. If you don't, basically, the guy that runs NeoGAF, Tyler Malka, he was accused of a sexual assault or rape or something along those lines. And ultimately, it made it so that the site got shut down. He was getting a lot of flack from some of the moderators. Eventually, the site came back up, but he was getting a lot of flack. Again, people were all over. A lot of people were dropping. A lot of the main moderators, the guys that helped run the site, just dipped, just wrote out. And this is more of a message to let you guys know that if you do get your news from NeoGAF, by all means, you can stay in that world. But a lot of the big moderators moved on, and they opened up their own, or set up their own LLC, and they opened up a site called Reset Era or Resetera, and it's going to be doing a lot of what NeoGAF is doing. It's going to generate a lot of kind of video game news, so it's going to fill that gap that NeoGAF users aren't going to get with some of these moderators leaving. So there's an official statement, and it says, after discussions among the staff and with the community, we have decided that we want Reset Era to be a fresh start. We like to look at the future and leave any baggage behind. Towards that end, we ask you not to post any threads about NeoGAF or its owner and avoid linking to the site. This is in no way an attempt to shut down free discussion, but instead a way to avoid unnecessary complications with other parties. If you must, there are other ways and venues to express yourself, but please get it out of your systems before coming to Reset Era. We have a great opportunity here to build something new with a blank slate. Let's press reset. I can respect that. I set up an account already. I like to be in the forums myself, if anything, to check out news and also to contribute to that news. But Reset Era, again, I'm going to link down in the description so you guys can get access to that if you guys choose to. And then I'm going to finish off with some Sony news. So as I record this is Sunday the 29th. On the 30th, so tomorrow. So this is going to air after Paris Games Week, but they've been teasing us, man. They've been mind fucking us for I feel like a few weeks at this point now. They came out and said expect big things from PlayStation and Paris Games Week, and they've been kind of really promoting the hell out of this thing. And again, they made another statement and basically said EA was only half the story. Tune into PlayStation Live from Paris Games Week, and then they list the time and the link where you can see it. Again, I'll link that down in the description. But mainly, the main story here is that they said that they're going to announce 7 new games for PS4 and PS Vita. And this led me to thinking, what could it possibly be? I mean, we already have God of War, Horizon's out already. Spider-Man's been announced. Uh, it's huge games. And by the way, my most anticipated game for next year is 100% Spider-Man and probably God of War right after that. But it got me to thinking, what could these 7 games be? So they mentioned PSVR, which I'm not interested in at all, and mainly because I suffer from a lot of vertigo, and that thing just does a number on me. Not because I'm a VR prude, but because of that reason. So I mainly stick to the screens or the stationary screens. But the only game that I can really think of that they can possibly announce is Sucker Punch's new game. So the Sucker Punch, ever since they did Infamous Second Son and then the DLC First Light, we haven't really heard anything. And at this point, I feel like it has been a couple years at least since they've mentioned anything about what they've been working on. So I feel like this is it. Now, I thought it would be probably at the PlayStation Experience, but the fact that they're saying this is going to be huge and they're announcing games probably means that they're going to share something of this. I feel like we're going to see, a lot of third-party kind of promotions there. Call of Duty World War II, it's probably going to be there. Star Wars is probably going to be there. What other partnerships do they have? Probably, the big partnerships that they have are definitely going to be on stage. I also feel like we're probably going to see a little bit more about Dreams, which is a Media Molecules game. We haven't heard anything there, and if anything, that message has been a little bit confusing. Nobody really knows what that game is, so maybe they can benefit from kind of showing what it is that the game is about. I also feel like there's going to be some update to maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake. I would love to see that, right? We did hear Death Stranding news a little while back, and Last of Us Part 2 news. I don't know that they're gonna be there. I don't know if this is the right kind of venue to do it, but by all means, if they want to share more news about those games. One game that I think will definitely be there is Detroit Become Human, rather. Being that they're, the developer for this game is stationed in France, I think it's going to be the right venue for them. So, maybe a little bit more about Spider-Man, God of War, Days Gone. Again, they have another convention about a month from Paris Games Week, which is the PlayStation Experience. So, I don't know if they're just going to, kind of throw it all out there. But they have a lot of stuff they can share. Another thing they can do on the stage can probably be, and they got a lot of flack for their E3 press conference because you didn't see any indie games there. Maybe this is the way they can kind of get back in the good graces. A lot of people were saying it was missing these indie games, so maybe they can put a little section there for the indie titles. But they definitely have a lot of ways they can go. What I'm more interested in is these 7 games that they're talking about. What can they be? What can they be? Sucker Punch is really the only one I could think of. If you guys think of anything, if you guys kind of have your own suggestions as to what it can be. Again, by the time this goes up, it's probably going to be out. So we'll see how these predictions go. But I also think that there's definitely going to be some update in regards to hardware. I mentioned on last week's show that this would be a great opportunity to announce the PS5 for them. Again, I don't necessarily believe that it should happen. I'm definitely content with the PS4, and I want to see more. But remember, a week or less than a week from this event, you got Xbox One X coming out. So this is a great way to take a little bit of wind out of that sail for Microsoft. Of the world's most powerful console, kind of marketing than they've been doing. Another way they can do it is probably a price drop, and I feel like they gotta do it. Right now the Slim is $299. I mean, imagine they drop it down to $199. I mean, $249 is most likely, but they can probably do $199 on that thing. They can also drop the price for the PS4 Pro. If they drop that right now, it's sitting at $399. If they drop it down to $299 or even $349, at that point it's $150-$200 price difference between the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Which, yeah, the Xbox One X is way more powerful, but can you really justify that price difference, whether it be it $150 or $200 with the purchase? So I'm definitely excited. I'm gonna definitely be watching. At this point, the event is probably about 11 or 12 hours away. I think it's 8 a.m. Pacific. I'm Eastern time, so it's 11 o'clock. Most likely, I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I do work, so I won't be seeing it live. I'll probably catch the highlights, or I'll watch a repeat of it. But I'm definitely gonna keep you guys posted, and that's definitely gonna be on the topic of conversation for next week's show. And that's gonna do it for this week's show, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for spending your time with me this week. Again, this show goes up every Tuesday, week after week, and it's gonna go. So this is how it's going. So the show goes live on Tuesday in your podcast services. So I'm on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, and then any of the other podcast services you can find me on. That's going up Tuesday. I'm trying to get the video up at the same time Tuesday. If I don't get it up or edited by Tuesday, it will go up Wednesday. And then I do small breakout videos for those who don't want to sit there and watch an hour of me talk and rather listen to me. They can do it on the podcast, or you can get those little breakout videos and see like little 2 or 3 or 4 minute kind of versions of, or snippets of the show. And then again, guys, I do have that Call of Duty World War II talk that I talked to Tim about over at MCC. That's going to go up later this week. Again, so keep your eye out for that, guys. Again, I want to thank you guys for listening and watching, for those on YouTube and for those on the podcast. This has been episode 17 of the Miami Let's Cast podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, guys, game on.